Today we're going to talk about pythons. Pythons are part of the family Pythonidae, and so there's many species of pythons in this family of snakes. Athena is our longest snake at the Snake Conservation Center. She is a coastal carpet python, and you can imagine why she gets her beautiful name, because she has this beautiful coloration on her body, and this pattern helps her blend in to a nice rainforest environment from the continent of Australia. She's actually about 7.5 feet long. Really adept climber, incredibly strong and powerful. You can kind of just see how big she is, and how strong she is. This ability to climb really tall trees and rainforests means that she can be in other places that other animals can't, and it also makes her a fabulous predator of birds, bats, and mammals. A lot of pythons are not only long, but they can be pretty slim. There's also small pythons too, but these really interesting snakes are egg-laying, and they can have clutches of up to 30, 40 eggs. Some pythons even protect their eggs from predators and will defend those eggs from all kinds of critters trying to get them. They can actually see heat, similar to how some rattlesnakes see heat, by having some pretty cool heat pits. These little pits help them detect warm-blooded prey.
This is Miss Monty, our ball python, and this is a full-grown female. This is about as big as they get. The females tend to be around 4 to 5 feet long. The males normally stay more in the 3.5 range. And the females definitely get a lot bulkier, a lot chunkier, and that's the case for most pythons. Pythons are pretty hefty, and that comes from muscle. And even though ball pythons seem to be slower and more ground-dwelling than other pythons, she's just as strong as a lot of those other ones. As you can see, she can hold her whole body up just by basically her tail here on my arm. The reason why they're called ball pythons is because when they feel threatened, they have the tendency to ball up in a ball instead of doing any kind of striking behavior. While they can still strike, they normally resort to just balling up and hiding their head and hoping that the predator will just leave them alone. An interesting thing that you can see on ball pythons as well as other python species and boa species is that they have these things called spurs. Spurs are tiny little claw-like appendages on either side of the cloaca, and those are vestigial limbs, which means basically when snakes evolved from an ancestor that had legs a long, long time ago, this is kind of what's left over of their legs. On her, we can see those heat pits that we saw on the other pythons. The difference between her heat pits, at least visually, and the heat pits on pit vipers like rattlesnakes is that pythons will have heat pits along their lips in a row, whereas pit vipers will have big ones right in the front of their face that kind of looks like a big pair of nostrils.
We have a very special snake that we're about to bring out. One of the longest snakes in the world, not her in particular, but I'm really excited to show her to you. So this is Medusa. Medusa is a reticulated python, which is the longest snake species in the world. However, this particular individual is actually a type of dwarf reticulated python. Reticulated pythons come from all over Southeast Asia. She is absolutely an incredible climber. When reticulated pythons are small, they start life usually up in the trees. It's a great way to avoid being predated on by a lot of different animals that would love to eat her. But as they get bigger, they get heavier and come down the canopy. So I mentioned that she's a dwarf, and so certain localities, so where these animals are from, they get really small. So on some islands, reticulated pythons may only get 8 to 10 feet long. And so this individual is about 2 years old, and she's about maybe 4.5 feet. But if she was a kind of a normal reticulated python from other parts of the world, she would easily be much larger even at 2 years of age. I mentioned that they live in the canopies of the rainforest, but I'm going to show you how well they can climb a completely vertical branch or a vertical tree using their incredibly powerful body. They can loop themselves around and get enough leverage that they can just pull themselves straight up. Let's see if she'll do it. So you can see she was able to climb, this 3 foot, about a meter worth of branch, no problem. So they can scale, 40-foot tall palm trees and other small trees, absolutely no issues.
Pythons have heat pits where they can sense heat. So you can see that right on her lip and around her nose area right there, and on the bottom of her jaw over here. And they use that to be able to sense prey and strike prey even if they can't see them, or if it's in a thicket or something like that. Kind of the ideal predator for hunting down whatever they need to hunt down. Hey, it's Morgan here. Thanks for hanging out with some of our scaly friends today. Did you happen to catch some of the exciting scientific words pop up during the video? Do you know what they mean? If not, don't worry, I'm here to help. Pythonidae is the scientific name for the python family. All animal families end in idae. For example, Pythonidae, Boidae, and Colubridae. Heat pits are organs that snakes use to sense temperatures. Spurs are claw-like structures near the tail of some snakes, like pythons and boas. Fun fact, they actually used to be the legs of the ancestors of snakes. Cloaca is the end of a snake's digestive tract. It's where they poop, pee, and even lay eggs. Vestigial body parts are parts that have lost their function due to evolution. For example, humans have a tailbone, but we don't have a tail. Thanks for learning about pythons with us today. If you liked this video, be sure to check out our other 2 snake family videos about boas and colubrids.